The buzzing sound of clippers echoed through the nurse's office like an electric threat. Ariel Daniels, just 12 years old, sat trembling as the first of her long, beautiful braids fell to the cold floor. Her eyes were wide, unblinking, trying not to cry, trying not to give them that satisfaction. But the tears came anyway. Ms. Rohr, her seventh-grade teacher, stood nearby with arms crossed, her mouth tight with judgment. "Hair like that doesn't belong in a classroom," she muttered, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Distracting, showy, unprofessional. This isn't a beauty salon." Ariel had tried to explain. She told her it was for medical reasons. She whispered the word alopecia, said her mom had signed medical forms with the principal months ago. But Ms. Rohr didn't care. She never had. Earlier that morning, Ariel had walked into class a little more confident than usual. Her braids were fresh, neatly done over the weekend by her dad, who'd spent hours watching YouTube tutorials while she guided him. They were long, elegant, a soft black laced with golden strands. Beautiful. But beauty made her a target in this school. She'd barely taken her seat when Ms. Rohr's voice sliced through the room like a blade. "Miss Daniels," she called, "come up front, now." Ariel froze. 24 pairs of eyes turned her way. Her best friend Maya gave her a small shake of the head, silently warning her not to go. But Ariel stood. What choice did she have? As she walked toward the front, she could feel the weight of their stares on her back. Some curious, others uncomfortable, a few smirking. She kept her head down, clutching her sketchbook. Ms. Rohr stepped forward, circling her like a predator sizing up prey. "Class," she announced, "this is an example of a dress code violation. Excessive hairstyling, inappropriate for school standards. The handbook clearly states that hair must be neat and conservative." Ariel's voice was almost a whisper. "I have a medical condition, ma'am." "Speak up," Ms. Rohr barked, pretending not to hear. "My mom filed paperwork," Ariel said louder, still not making eye contact. "I have alopecia. These braids protect the bald spots." Ms. Rohr rolled her eyes. "A medical condition that requires hair extensions? That's a new one." Maya reached for her phone beneath her desk. Something in the air had shifted. This wasn't just a dress code issue anymore. It was personal. "You're going to the nurse's office," Ms. Rohr declared. "You can either remove those braids now or go home." Ariel's hands were trembling. "Please, just call my mom." "She's deployed overseas, isn't she?" Ms. Rohr snapped. "And I doubt she'd support you breaking the rules." She grabbed Ariel's arm, not violently, but firm enough to send a message, and dragged her out of the classroom. Maya hit record. Her phone lens captured the tight grip on Ariel's wrist, the pain in her eyes, the silence in the room, as no one said a word. They passed rows of lockers and curious students as they headed to the nurse's office. Ariel's feet barely moved beneath her. Her entire body felt like it was collapsing from the inside. When they entered, Nurse Adams looked up from her computer, her expression shifting instantly at the sight of Ariel's tear-streaked face. "She's in violation of the dress code," Ms. Rohr said flatly. "The hair has to go." I thought she had a medical exemption," the nurse asked hesitantly. "There's nothing in her file," Ms. Rohr lied confidently, "and I already spoke with the principal. We're proceeding." Ariel's knees nearly buckled. "Please don't! Please!" But no one listened. Nurse Adams retrieved a pair of electric clippers. She hesitated, clearly uncertain, but she didn't stop it. "This is for your own good," Ms. Rohr added. "It's time you understand that rules apply to everyone." The first buzz made Ariel flinch. Then the second. Then her braids started falling. She clutched the arms of the chair, silently sobbing as chunks of her identity landed on the tile. The very braids that protected her scalp. The ones her dad had made with love. Gone. Outside the room, Maya was still recording through the cracked door. She didn't say a word, but her hands were shaking too. Inside, Ariel's shoulders hunched as the last of her natural hair was shaved off. When it was over, she didn't move, didn't cry out loud, just sat there, eyes hollow, head cold, heart broken. Behind her, the floor was littered with the pieces of a little black girl's dignity, and the woman who'd stolen it stood smugly, like she'd just done the world a favor. The car ride home was so quiet, you could hear the engine hum. Ariel sat in the back seat, head down, hoodie pulled over her nearly bald scalp. Her father, Eric Daniels, gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. He wanted to scream, to ask questions, to demand answers. But his daughter hadn't said a single word since stepping out of the nurse's office. When they reached the house, Ariel opened the door slowly, walked inside, and went straight to her room. No shoes off, no backpack hung up, no eye contact, just silence. Eric stood frozen in the entryway, the door still open behind him. He finally closed it, locked it, and leaned against it, his breath shaky. He didn't know what had happened yet, but whatever it was had broken something in his daughter. Upstairs, Ariel lay on her bed staring at the ceiling. Her sketchbook sat untouched beside her. She used to draw every day. Birds, superheroes, women in capes. But now the pencil felt like it belonged to someone else. She ran her hand over her exposed scalp, her fingers stopping where the clipper had scraped too close. The skin stung, but not as much as the silence from everyone who watched it happen. Downstairs, Eric picked up his phone and tried Naomi again, straight to voicemail. He left another message. Naomi, something happened at school. It's Ariel. Please call me as soon as you can. I don't know what to do. Ariel's mother, Lieutenant Colonel Naomi Daniels, was 3 weeks into an overseas assignment. Classified, limited communication. Eric had sent 3 voicemails already. This time, his voice cracked. In another part of town, Maya Thompson sat with her sister Jasmine in their bedroom. Jasmine, a college sophomore and social justice content creator, watched the footage her little sister had recorded in school. Her mouth fell open. Are you serious? They did this to Ariel? Maya nodded, trying to stay strong. No one said anything, not even the other teachers. Jasmine didn't hesitate. She opened her laptop and pulled up her content page. We're uploading this now. Maya hesitated. Shouldn't we ask Ariel first? I don't want her to be more embarrassed. Jasmine turned to her gently. This isn't just about Ariel anymore. This is about every black girl who's ever been punished for how she looks, for having hair that makes someone uncomfortable. Ariel may not have found her voice yet, but we can help her speak. The clip was just under 30 seconds. No music, no edits, just raw footage of a scared black girl being dragged to an office, her braids being called excessive, and a teacher holding clippers like a weapon. They titled it, Black Girl's Braids Violated Dress Code. Teacher Forced to Shave Her Head. Within the first hour, the video had over 2,000 views. By the third hour, it was being shared by micro-influencers. By nightfall, it had crossed 20,000. The comment section flooded with rage. This is abuse! Where are the parents? This child needs a lawyer. Share this until that teacher is fired. At the Daniels household, Ariel hadn't eaten dinner. Eric left a tray at her door. She hadn't touched it. The hoodie stayed on. She stayed curled up, still not speaking. He refreshed Naomi's contact again. Still no signal. He cursed under his breath, then walked into the kitchen. His phone buzzed. Jasmine. Mr. Daniels, the video's going viral. People are sharing it everywhere. Eric's eyes widened. What video? My sister recorded what happened. The part where the teacher took her to the nurse. I'm sorry. We had to share it. Eric sat down slowly. No, I'm glad you did. He went online and found the post. The thumbnail made his stomach twist. Ariel's face, mid-plea. Her eyes wide, voice silent. The school released a statement that evening. One paragraph, no names, no apology, just bureaucratic language. We are aware of a disciplinary incident that occurred today. The staff member involved has been placed on temporary suspension pending further review. We will respect the privacy of all parties. No mention of Ariel's medical condition. No mention of clippers. No acknowledgement of the trauma. Eric's phone buzzed again, this time a different number. He answered immediately. A robotic voice said, "You have a secure message." The screen lit up. It was from Naomi. A 5-second video message loaded. Ariel's face appeared. Then the clippers. Then the floor covered in braids. At the end, Eric's voice whispered, "Naomi, please come home." Far away, in a dimly lit tent, Naomi Daniels watched the clip on a military tablet. Her expression didn't change, but her grip on the device tightened. Her daughter's pain had traveled across the world, and now it was coming back with her. Because this wasn't just about a policy. This was personal. The morning sun barely peeked through the clouds as the school bell rang, but the air was already heavy. Hallways buzzed with whispers. Students had seen the video. Teachers had read the statement. But no one had seen Ariel. And no one expected what happened next. The main doors creaked open slowly. The building quieted like a ripple across a lake. Footsteps echoed. Sharp, steady, deliberate. A pair of polished black combat boots touched the tile like thunder. Lieutenant Colonel Naomi Daniels had arrived. She hadn't changed out of her uniform. The medals on her chest caught the hallway lights, each one earned through years of service in high-risk operations. Her stride was military precise. Her posture radiated strength. She wasn't here to talk. She was here for war. Students froze. Teachers stepped out of classrooms mid-lecture. Phones dropped to pockets. Conversations died. Nobody needed to ask who she was. Naomi passed by the front desk without pausing. The secretary stood to speak, but faltered the moment Naomi met her eyes. One glance told her, "Don't try." She moved like a woman on a mission, because she was. But this mission wasn't overseas. It was personal. Down the hallway, Ms. Rohr stood by the teacher's lounge, laughing with 2 other faculty members. Her laugh stopped cold when she saw the woman in uniform walking straight toward her. For a moment, her face paled. Then she straightened up, trying to reclaim her smugness. "Lieutenant Colonel," she said, plastering on a fake smile. "What a surprise." Naomi didn't smile back. She stood at the doorway, her presence filling the room with silence. Her voice was calm. Too calm. "I understand you've met my daughter." Ms. Rohr's hands twitched at her sides. Yes, of course. I was simply enforcing school." "Don't," Naomi interrupted, still calm. Don't insult us both by pretending this was about a policy. One of the teachers behind her shifted awkwardly and slipped out of the room. Then another. Within seconds, it was just Naomi and Ms. Rohr alone. 8 years ago, Naomi said, her voice low and steady. You were in my basic training unit at Fort Benning. Back then, you were Private Rohr. Ms. Rohr blinked, stunned. You failed physicals, failed rifle qualification, filed false complaints when you were corrected, especially against black soldiers. Ms. Rohr's mouth opened, but Naomi stepped closer. You got discharged, Naomi continued, because you couldn't meet standards, not because anyone targeted you. And now, all these years later, you've found a way to wear power again, but this time on children. I didn't recognize you, Ms. Rohr whispered. Naomi didn't blink. But I recognized you, and now, so has Ariel. She stepped forward, reducing the distance between them to inches. You singled out my daughter. You stripped her dignity in front of her peers. You violated her body, her rights, and her spirit. You did it because you thought no one would fight back. You were wrong. Ms. Rohr tried to regain her stance. I acted according to the handbook. Your daughter was out of compliance, and I was never informed of any medical exemption. Naomi leaned in, her voice razor-sharp. You think I care about the dress code? I've commanded troops through war zones. You think I'm scared of a handbook? Ms. Rohr swallowed, suddenly very aware of how small she felt. My daughter is 12, Naomi said. She has a condition you mocked. You didn't just shave her head. You tried to humiliate her. You tried to make her small. But you forgot who raised her. Naomi stepped back, adjusted her cap, and turned to leave. Wait, Ms. Rohr said weakly. You can't threaten me. Naomi stopped and turned. Threaten? Number, I don't need to threaten you, because everything you did is already documented. Video, witnesses, emails. This isn't a threat, Evelyn. This is your reality now. She paused, then added, one more thing. If you ever so much as look at my daughter again, you'll understand why they used to call me the Hammer. Naomi turned and walked away, the echo of her boots slamming back down the hallway like gunfire. She didn't need an escort. She didn't need backup. She was the storm. And the school? It was already crumbling. Principal Wexley sat behind his desk, eyes darting across his computer screen. His tie was loosened, his forehead damp with stress. Across the office, the blinds were drawn. The video was now past 100,000 views. His email inbox was chaos. Parents demanding answers. Local reporters requesting statements. Board members panicking. But still, no apology, no accountability. He clicked into the student medical files and hovered over Ariel Daniels's folder. There it was. Assigned medical exemption, dated 4 months ago, uploaded by her mother, approved by his own digital signature. He closed the file and leaned back in his chair, staring at the ceiling like it might offer an escape. A knock came at the door. His secretary peeked in, pale. Mr. Wexley, the Daniels' father is here. He says he's not leaving until you speak with him. Eric Daniels stood tall in the hallway, gripping a folder in one hand, his jaw tight. His eyes weren't angry. They were empty. The kind of emptiness that comes after you run out of tears and into fire. Principal Wexley stood and opened the door. Mr. Daniels, I understand you're... Don't, Eric said calmly. Don't tell me you understand anything. He stepped into the office without waiting for permission and set the folder down on the desk. Those are copies of every form we submitted. Medical records, letters from Naomi, school responses, signatures from you and Nurse Adams, the same documents your teacher pretended didn't exist. Wexley looked down, face blank. I'll need to verify. Eric cut him off. You already did. Your signature's on half of them. Don't pretend this is new information. Wexley tried to gather composure. Mr. Daniels, I assure you we're taking this seriously. Ms. Rohr has been placed on temporary— A 1-day suspension? Eric snapped. You let a teacher put clippers to my daughter's head like she owned her, like she wasn't a human being, and you think 1 day off is enough? Wexley looked away. There are protocols, processes we must follow. Eric leaned in. You followed nothing. You buried a medical exemption and backed a racist teacher. This wasn't a mistake. It was a decision. Outside that same afternoon, Maya met with her sister Jasmine and handed over a printed screenshot. It was from a group text between teachers. In it, Ms. Rohr had written, I'm about to teach this brat a lesson she'll never forget. Time-stamped 30 minutes before the haircut. Another teacher had responded, Isn't her mom deployed? Ms. Rohr replied, Exactly. The message was real. Jasmine had verified it with a teacher who had quietly left the group and shared the texts in secret. Someone from inside the school had had enough. Back at the Daniels house, Naomi was compiling files into a binder. Her laptop was open, tabs scattered with civil rights attorneys, education laws, and precedent cases. She wasn't just angry. She was organized. Eric walked in, handed her the printed group texts, and said, They planned it. Naomi looked at the messages for a long moment, then calmly added them to the binder. They were counting on us staying quiet. I also got a message today, Eric added, from a janitor. Said we should check the nurse's files. Naomi raised her eyes. He said that? Eric nodded. He left it on our porch. No name, just check the nurse's office. They know what happened. That night, Eric returned to the school after hours. The janitor was waiting by the back door. A man in his 50s, quiet, eyes tired. My name's Frank, he said, unlocking the door. My daughter had Ms. Rohr a few years ago. I didn't speak up then. I'm not making that mistake again. Eric stepped into the dark building, flashlight in hand. The nurse's office was down the hallway. Third door on the left. He found the file cabinet and opened the drawer marked Medical Alerts. It didn't take long. A complaint form. Handwritten. Signed by Ariel. Dated 2 weeks before the incident. In it, she'd described how Ms. Rohr had repeatedly commented on her hair, calling it distracting, asking why it looked like that. Ariel had asked to be moved to a different classroom. At the bottom, stamped in red, no action required. Eric stared at the paper, hands trembling. They had known. They'd had warnings. They just didn't care. He took photos of the document and slipped it into his folder before locking everything back the way he found it. Back home, Naomi was on a video call with a civil rights attorney. When Eric showed her the form, her expression didn't change, but her voice did. This isn't a case, she said. This is a war, and we're going to win it. The video had passed 1 million views. It wasn't just trending anymore. It was everywhere. News stations picked it up. Talk shows debated it. Hashtags like #Justice for Ariel and #Black hair is not a dress code exploded across Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. Outside Jefferson Middle School, a crowd of parents, students, and activists gathered with signs held high. My hair, my crown. Protect black girls. End school racism now. Eric stood near the sidewalk, Ariel beside him, hood still up. She watched silently as more and more people showed up. Teachers from other districts, local reporters, artists, veterans, mothers, fathers. She whispered, "Why are they here?" Eric knelt beside her. "Because they see you, and they won't let this happen to someone else." A woman with gray braids and a denim jacket passed by, handing Ariel a small card. "You're not alone, sweetheart," she said. "I lost my job in 1998 for wearing locks. You're part of a bigger fight now." Inside the school, the blinds stayed shut. Principal Wexley remained locked in his office, and the superintendent issued another vague statement. "We are reviewing internal procedures and encourage peaceful dialogue." But the public didn't want dialogue. They wanted justice. Naomi met with attorney Shelby Rivers, a sharp-tongued civil rights lawyer known for taking down an entire county over a discriminatory suspension system just 2 years earlier. "You're not just suing a teacher," Shelby said, flipping through the binder Naomi brought. "You're about to light up an entire district." Naomi nodded. "Good." Shelby smiled. "That's what I like to hear." The lawsuit dropped 2 days later. Naomi Daniels versus Jefferson County School District. The claim was 82 pages long, citing racial discrimination, bodily harm without consent, targeted harassment, institutional cover-up, and emotional trauma. Attached were exhibits: the group chat texts, the ignored medical exemption, the hidden nurses report, and the video clip that now had 2.4 million views. One teacher anonymously reached out to Shelby's firm and submitted a statement saying she'd also witnessed Ms. Rohr berating black students about their hair and calling their styles street. The district went quiet, but the people didn't. Students staged walkouts. 3 nearby schools joined in. Young black girls wore head wraps and natural styles in solidarity. Even the boys shaved messages into their fades. Ariel. Justice. Enough. In the middle of the chaos, something unexpected happened. Ariel picked up her sketchbook again. The first page showed a faceless girl in a classroom chair. Around her, words floated like ghosts. Distracting. Unprofessional. Too loud. Fix your hair. The next page showed the same girl, this time with a glowing crown made of braids, her head lifted high, eyes defiant. The third page? A crowd standing behind her, arms linked, fists raised, signs in the air. Art became Ariel's voice. Her drawings made their way to Instagram. Jasmine helped post them with captions like, "This is how she speaks now." The internet responded. Artists reposted them. Celebrities amplified them. One gallery owner from Atlanta reached out and offered to feature Ariel's work in a youth exhibit. The Daniels family agreed. At the opening, Ariel stood beside her pieces in a white hoodie and jeans. A soft smile curved her lips for the first time in days. Naomi stood beside her. A journalist asked, "What does this moment feel like?" Naomi looked at her daughter, then back at the cameras. "We came here broken, but Ariel's turning pain into power. That's what justice really looks like." The school board attempted damage control, placing Ms. Rohr on administrative leave without pay. The superintendent offered to meet privately with the Daniels family. They declined, because this fight wasn't about apologies behind closed doors. It was about exposing the system that allowed this to happen. The Daniels attorney was contacted by 3 other families. Their daughters had been pulled out of school for similar reasons: hair violations, disruption, attitude issues. All black, all silent until now. Naomi met with them personally. She listened. She wrote their names down. She promised this wasn't just a lawsuit. It was a movement. And as the media spotlight intensified, Ariel's story reached national television. Morning anchors replayed the footage. Congressional leaders tweeted in support. Even the First Lady's office issued a short message of solidarity with all young girls standing up against injustice. Ariel watched it all from home, sketching in her lap. She looked up at her mom. "Do I have to speak at court?" Naomi touched her hand. "Only if you want to." Ariel thought for a moment, then quietly said, "I think I do." The courtroom was cold, its silence thick with tension. People shifted in their seats, whispering quietly, stealing glances at the Daniels family seated near the front. Ariel sat between her parents, small and steady, her sketchbook resting in her lap like a shield. She wore a navy blazer over her favorite hoodie. Hood down now, hair still short, but her back straight. Naomi placed a hand over hers. "You don't have to be brave. You just have to be honest." Across the aisle, Ms. Rohr sat at the defendant's table, her face stiff, her hair immaculately done in a bun. Her lawyer whispered in her ear, but she barely responded. The judge called the room to order. Court is now in session in the matter of Daniels versus Jefferson County School District. The legal teams began opening arguments. Shelby Rivers, calm and sharp, stood and addressed the jury. "This case isn't just about a haircut. It's about humiliation. It's about the systemic silencing of black children. And it's about what happens when power is unchecked." She walked over to the jury and held up Ariel's medical exemption form. This was ignored. Then she held up the complaint Ariel had written weeks before. This was shredded. And then she paused, eyes locked with the jurors. But Ariel, she was not ignored. She was not erased. And today, you will hear her story, in her words. An hour later, Ariel stepped up to the witness stand. The room hushed. The court clerk swore her in. Her voice was small but clear. "Yes, I do." Shelby approached slowly. "Ariel, can you tell us what happened that day in your classroom?" Ariel glanced at the jury, then at her sketchbook. She opened it. Page 1. The faceless girl in the chair. "I was wearing braids because I have alopecia. I get bald spots and they make me feel ugly sometimes. My mom filed the forms so I could keep them in." She turned the page. Page 2. The teacher pointing, the girl shrinking. "She called me out in front of the whole class, said my hair was a distraction. She said I looked like I was showing off." Shelby asked, "Did you tell her about your condition?" Ariel nodded. "Yes, but she laughed, said it sounded made up." Page 3. The nurse's office. "She said I had to cut them or leave school. I asked her to call my mom. She didn't. She took me to the nurse and told her to shave my head." Shelby's voice softened. "How did you feel?" Ariel looked down for a moment, then said, "Like I didn't matter." Gasps echoed quietly from the benches. Someone sniffled. "Did anyone stop it?" "No." "Did you ask them to stop?" "Yes, I begged." Shelby nodded. "Thank you, Ariel. That's all." As Ariel walked back to her seat, the court fell into a deep silence. Naomi wiped her eyes discreetly. Eric clenched his jaw. Then it was the defense's turn. Ms. Rohr's attorney stood. "Miss Daniels, were you aware of the school dress code?" Ariel nodded. Yes. And were you aware that hair must be kept neat and not be distracting? Yes. Would you agree that your braids were long and included gold strands? Ariel paused. They were pretty. So, you admit they could be seen as distracting? Shelby stood. Objection. Subjective interpretation. The judge? Sustained. The defense backed off. No further questions. Then came the moment everyone had been waiting for. Shelby stood again. Your Honor, with the court's permission, we'd like to present new video evidence recovered from the school's IT backup system. Ms. Rohr's lawyer stood. Objection. This was not previously disclosed. Shelby held up the USB. It was recovered yesterday from a school employee who came forward. It's from the security feed outside the nurse's office. The judge allowed it. The screen lit up. The room darkened slightly. The footage played. Ariel sitting in the nurse's chair, crying, begging. No, please don't. Please, just call my mom. Ms. Rohr's voice. Your mom doesn't run this school. The nurse looking hesitant, then powering on the clippers. Ariel flinching as the first braid fell. The jury watched in silence. At the defense table, Ms. Rohr shifted, her hands trembling. On the screen, Ariel's face crumpled. Her voice broke. I didn't do anything wrong. Then the screen went black. The judge looked shaken. Do you need a recess? Shelby shook her head. No, Your Honor. We rest our case. Ms. Rohr's lawyer declined to call her to the stand, but she stood up anyway. I didn't mean to hurt her, she said suddenly, voice cracking. She was being difficult. She always wanted to be different. I was just trying to maintain order. These kids, they don't respect structure anymore. Her voice rose. And her mother thinks she can walk in here and play soldier. Well, this isn't a battlefield. This is my classroom. The courtroom erupted. The judge slammed the gavel. Order! Shelby whispered, Thank you for the confession. The jury didn't need long. What they had just seen, what they had just felt, was undeniable. The courtroom was still as the jury returned. 12 faces, all solemn, all changed by what they had seen. The foreperson stood and handed the slip of paper to the bailiff, who passed it to the judge. The judge adjusted his glasses, read silently, then cleared his throat. In the matter of Daniels versus Jefferson County School District, we find in favor of the plaintiff. A gasp rolled through the room. The judge continued. The court awards $10 million in damages. Additionally, Ms. Evelyn Rohr is to be permanently barred from teaching in any public school district. Ms. Rohr sat frozen, her mouth slightly open. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder. She didn't move. Naomi reached for Ariel's hand. Eric closed his eyes and exhaled. For the first time in weeks, the weight lifted. Ariel didn't smile. Not yet. But her eyes met the jury's. And for once, she didn't look away. Outside the courthouse, a sea of people waited. The crowd erupted the moment the Daniels family stepped out. News cameras flashed. Activists chanted. Young girls waved handmade signs that read, Thank you, Ariel, and I am enough. Ariel held tight to Naomi's hand as they walked toward the podium. Shelby stepped up to the mic first. Today, justice was not just spoken, it was served. Then Naomi stepped forward. She didn't need notes. My daughter was humiliated, stripped of dignity, and treated like she was less than human, she said, steady and clear. but she is not less. She is everything. She looked at the crowd, at the students, at the girls with curls, braids, and twists, standing tall in the front row. To every black girl who was told her hair was too much, too wild, too different, this is for you. She paused, letting the moment settle. If the system won't protect you, then we will challenge the system until it does. Applause broke out. Tears flowed. That night, the story made national headlines again. Justice for Ariel. $10 million verdict rocks school system. Mother in uniform brings down racist school district. Little girl, big change, how one child sparked a movement. But Ariel didn't care about headlines. She just wanted to draw. Back at home, she sat at her desk under a soft desk lamp. The sketchbook was nearly full now. She flipped to a blank page and began with light strokes. This time, not pain, not anger, hope. She drew a girl in a courtroom, hair short, chin lifted, surrounded by light. Then she drew a school, not broken, but reimagined. Walls painted in color, teachers of all races, kids wearing their natural hair proudly. Then she drew a woman in uniform, standing beside a child. Ariel signed it in the corner, a D. The gallery called a week later. They didn't want just 3 pieces anymore. They wanted an entire exhibition. They called it What Remains, the Art of Becoming. Opening night was packed. Journalists came, educators, veterans, students, survivors of school bias. Black mothers from all over the country stood shoulder to shoulder, looking at Ariel's pain turned into power, hung proudly on the walls. In the center of the exhibit stood the piece that went viral. Ariel, seated in the nurse's chair, one braid still clinging to her scalp, but her eyes staring forward, refusing to cry. Underneath it, a quote was printed. "They tried to take my voice, so I painted it instead." Ariel Daniels. Across the street, a mural was painted on the side of the community center. It showed a little girl with braids of gold, a cape around her shoulders, standing on the steps of a school as it cracked open, sunlight bursting through. And beside her, a black woman in uniform, medals shining, her hand on the girl's shoulder. They called it The Guardian. Months passed. Then one day, Naomi received a call from the governor's office. A bill had been passed in Ariel's name, the Crown School Protection Act, requiring all public schools in the state to respect and protect natural hair, religious styles, and cultural expression. No more loopholes, no more vague dress code rules. Naomi hung up the phone and went to find her daughter. Ariel was in the backyard, painting the sky. She turned and smiled when she saw her mom. Naomi said, "They passed it. You changed the law." Ariel blinked. "Me?" Naomi nodded. "Yes, you." Ariel looked up at the clouds. "Good. No one else should go through what I did." Then she went back to painting, because healing wasn't loud. It was quiet. It was gentle. And it was hers.